Hi there, welcome back to the channel. So, this is the third coat. It's been 48 hours since the second coat, and I've been looking at it, and I've been comparing it to the Flying V, you know, just because I have an example here, and it's starting to look really nice and shiny and just awesome. It's really something. Look at this beautiful thing. Check it out. Okay, I think it looks really, really good. I'm very excited about it and excited about how it turned out. I like this little, this is a little spot that was like probably some kind of piece of wood or maybe a patch job with some kind of filler, and it didn't take stain that well, but it made a nice like little relic spot. Like, just looks cool that it's thinner than the rest of it. And there's a couple, the front has a piece of wood that's a little different from the rest, and it really took the stain well. So it looks a little different there too. It's really cool. Lots of little nuances. There's like a nice little streak in here, and then on the back of this horn is this nice little thing happening now. So just really nice. Let's see if we can get this back in focus. Sometimes if you walk towards the camera it goes out of focus. There. Okay, so that looks really good. Everything looks fantastic. And what I'm going to do after I put this coat down today, I'll take it outside because I can't get any good photography in here as far as like picking up the silver highlights or the subtleties of the aged top gloss. So I'm going to let it dry, obviously, for 48 hours and cure, and then I'll be able to handle it again with gloves, and I'll take it outside and really try to get some good shots of it so you can see what this really looks like. Because so far I don't think it's been that well represented on camera. Okay, so I'm going to quickly, now today I'm not going to do much of this brushing off with the steel wool, you know, the leveling the finish, because it's self-leveling for starters, and it just doesn't need much at this point. Just the lightest of that, just to make sure there's nothing that's risen up and sitting on the surface, or dust or debris, maybe little hairs, little things like that. So as you can see, very light brush off. Then I'm going to bring it over here, dust it off really well, so we don't have any lingering materials left behind, debris. I don't see anything flying off, so I think we're good. It gets less and less messy, and there's less and less things to take off the more coats you do. Okay, so the other day I showed you how this is kind of divided into three servings, so to speak, or three applications. And then I was looking at the bottle last night. You probably won't be able to tell, but up here is a 30 milliliter line. So divide that into thirds, and we're doing about 10 milliliters per coat this time around. And I was thinking, so that's kind of neat that it ended up being exactly, and if you look at it in the light, there's little marks too, and it's sitting right at 10, 20, 30 milliliters. It's sitting right at that 10 milliliter thing. So it really did work out with this particular guitar and this particular piece of wood. It did really work out to do it into thirds, like 10 milliliters a coat. Now, this piece of wood kind of sucked up the stain and the top gloss. So another piece of wood, like this one, didn't suck it up nearly as much. It was more, it had a sealed feel. This, even though it was sanded the same amount to the same grit, because it's Paulownia or whatever the wood is, candlenut wood, Paulownia, maybe poplar, it's a little more porous, and it took a little more to get good coverage. So you could always do more, but I really think after today, that's all the top gloss you're going to want, because the whole idea of this is to take the finish down anyway. And the other thing is that there's also burnishing, and burnishing happens from just playing it. That's where you kind of rub on the finish. That actually adds more gloss to it as well. The longer you play a sort of matte finish type of guitar, the glossier it's going to get. That's eventually where it ends up, just because of the friction and the wear from your body. Or if you take a piece of paper, like you take a piece of computer paper and burnish the finish after it's cured, just to give it more of an aged look and to get a more glossy finish. So those are all things you can do later. But here we go. This might not take all of this. I was thinking of dumping it all into the bottle because I'm always kicking bottles over and messing things up. I dropped some on the floor the other day and just had to use the floor and make sure. Luckily I just vacuumed so there was no grit. So I'm tempted to just put it all in and get going. But I also thought that it might not take this last coat as willingly as it's taken the other two. So you could put a really light one on and then do it one more time. It's always better to do multiple thin coats than just a few heavy ones with this type of thing. Even though this is self-leveling, there's no you don't want to glop it on. You know, you want to go slowly. Just build it up. Okay, so let's see what happens. I'll try to just do a little, see how far it's going to go. Might get to a fourth coat. If not, we'll dump it all into the jar and be done today. Besides the curing time. And our photographic documentation. When I take it outside, I'll do another video where you really get to see it. And then it's going to get packed up and we're going to take it back to Kevin. Okay, so here we go. Keep my fumble fingers at a minimum. And you can already see this is starting to dry up, so you don't get tons of time with this stuff. You want to get on with it when you get it going. Okay, so I just put a little bit in. Little small amount. And I've got my little rag. Or I had my rag in here. Yeah, it's in this pocket. I already cut my 4-inch rag here. And where I'm going to start today, I'm going to put a cap on this, I don't kick it over. Where I'm going to start, the spot I'm going to start on is right in this little space down here by where the output jack goes. Just because it's the only little spot that still feels a little dry. So I want to start there just to make sure that gets the most amount of coverage. I'll put this here, this like that. Probably make me look really weird, but we'll be able to see better. Okay, take the this last bit of this here. Finishing on the up. That took that really nicely. Really nicely. Perfect. Yeah, I think I'm going to just go for the third coat because I can tell that the guitar wants it, and that's going to do it. It looks so good in this light right now. I don't know if you can tell. I don't think anything looks like really good with this lack of lighting. It looks okay to shoot a video, but it's hard to get photographic details. And also, if I can get it to photograph in here, I will do that. I'll make another video later today. I just so far have not been able to get the camera, I think it's because of the light, to pick things up the way I would like them to pick, the way I would like it to pick it up. Okay, I'm going to have to stay on this spot for a second and really get it covered. For whatever reason, it just got a little neglected, and that wood right there is a little more open than the rest of the guitar. But that for sure did it. It's just, the other thing, I know I keep saying this, it's because I really believe it. It's just such a fun, rewarding thing to do. And you can't have that disappointment feeling with it because there's really no way to mess it up. You'd have to work really hard to mess it up. And even then, how could it really be messed up? Because with all this relicking and stuff, what's messed up? You know what I mean? I don't even know what messed up is anymore. So you can't go wrong. You will enjoy the process. It's very, very rewarding. So as you can see, this third coat is going on beautifully. As usual, every time I have a little fear or thought, it's quickly assuaged as soon as I start doing the work. It's just fantastic. Fantastic. The way it catches, and you can start to see it sliding across the finish, and that's when I know that you're not going to need any more coats. I just watched it happen. The stain just kind of pulled up and slid across the finish. It's no longer absorbing, large amounts of stain. So I'm going to get the rest of this coat on, go around it 2 or 3 times, and then it's going to sit for a week. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to take a few more photos. And the other thing I'm going to do, I thought about this a lot. I'm going to make like a kind of definitive video guide on Wudtone stains, because there's not a ton of information out there, and the instructions are fine, and they give you, you know, that's how I figured out how to do it, and I think I did it correctly based on what they recommend. But it's a little complicated, and I don't know that people have a really good idea of what they're getting into when you get these colors, because all the colors react differently. Wood reacts differently. I've done 2 staining jobs with Wudtone now, and I have a few opinions on what I think will, you know, works, and also how the pigmentation works on, say, a color like this versus a red, because literally this was 3 coats of color before you got to anything else, and this was only 1. You know, it was a mixed color, but it was only 1 color. So the complexity, there's levels of complexity, and there's factors, you know, that now that I've done it a few times, I could probably warn people. But what I was thinking of doing is separating the stains into the ones that are to have more colors versus the simpler ones like this, you know, like a whitewash or a Surfer Girl, versus something like the Cherry Flamenco or the other red that they have that's very complex. They got some really deep blues, they have a black. So yeah, I would like to do a video where I talk about the amount of how to purchase it, what to expect, how to prepare the wood, and then what the different colors do to wood and how long they take to cure, because the curing time is a significant factor when you're doing this. So anyway, I should get back to this. Thanks for watching. But I think it's you know, I think it's turning out really well, and like I said, I'll update you on the next step, which is letting it cure and photographing it. Thanks again.